First of all, I'd like Lynn Hogue in the back of the room to stand up, just for a moment. I want you guys to see someone who runs a renewable energy company in Maryland that also manufactures renewable energy products. Why is that relevant? If he's building solar farms, wind farms, biomass plants, and waste-to-energy plants in Africa, that is going to create thousands of jobs for Marylanders. His firm has gotten the distinguishment of having recently been awarded a $1.8 million grant from the Department of Energy for job creation in Maryland. So you ask yourself, Africa has these vast needs. Peter mentioned Africa needs power. Well, why have Chinese firms manufacture renewable energy equipment and sell it in Africa when we can have Maryland firms do that? So I started my career with Secretary Ron Brown at the Commerce Department. Thank you, Lynn. And the name of the firm is SSI, Strategic Services International, run by other Naval Academy grads, other Marylanders. I started my career with Secretary Brown helping U.S. companies export to Africa, export to Latin America, export to Eastern Europe. And what I would say is the biggest issue in investment is investor confidence. You're not going to take a company from Dallas and say you need to do business in Ethiopia out of benevolence. Business people aren't benevolent typically. Okay, we can be real about that. You're not going to take somebody from Silver Spring and ask them to do business in the West Bank because they think it's a good thing to do. But if those people have a successful exporting relationship from the United States to Ethiopia, they're going to go to their women's club or their men's club or their golf club. They're going to go to their tennis club or their kids' gymnastics class, and they're going to say, I just did a $100,000 deal in Ghana. And they're going to say, it went well, we sold, we got paid, and all of a sudden people invest where they've had success selling their product or their service. Similarly, if Wegmans is starting to enter the mid-Atlantic market, in particular Maryland, and they're getting bananas from Mali, and the bananas are good, no one gets sick, no one dies, then all of a sudden you have people on the other side of the ocean saying, you know, I'm using the port of Baltimore, I'm accessing the mid-Atlantic to access a 200 million person market. So not to bore you about myself, I spent 9 years with the U.S. Commercial Service, serving in many countries, helping U.S. companies export their products and services. When I got ready to retire, the Bush administration asked me to go to the World Bank because we had kind of lost our way. We fund almost $25 billion in annual projects, which most African companies in their own countries do not win. And the reason they don't win them is because they don't have U.S. partners. I repeat, they don't have U.S. partners. So you take a bridge that's going to be built for $100 million. The Germans, the French, the British, the Dutch come into these countries because as small countries, they have to go international. They can't sit on this landmass we call the United States and rely on a strong economy, which I think we've realized the wisdom or lack thereof in that. So when U.S. companies find local partners to bid on World Bank finance projects, a house, a road, a bridge, the contracts are as small as $5,000 and they go as large as $5 billion. But the point is, U.S. consultants, engineering firms, small firms can partner with local firms and get local preference when they have local partners. How is that relevant? We need Africa. Quite frankly, America and Maryland needs Africa more than Africa needs us. Now, that's not our mindset. I'm a Texan. We don't even think we need the U.S. Right? but we, the United States, we, the state of Maryland, the people and taxpayers of Maryland, need export markets in Ethiopia, in Mali, in Ghana. BP Solar does a 100-megawatt solar farm in Mali. That would be $400 million, and every megawatt, on average, creates 20 jobs on both sides of the ocean. So if you want to fill Frederick County with more jobs, and all through the Mid-Atlantic, then we should be looking at U.S. companies that do export, do manufacture. So my whole life has been spent, beginning with the Perot family, working on NAFTA deals, helping U.S. companies shore themselves up. And if it benefits people overseas. Now, what I do, benevolence-wise, yes, I give to the church and give my time and give. But at the end of the day, as a businessman, I'm looking to help U.S. companies and help African companies link themselves. And that's why we've chosen GTDC as strategic partners, because at the end of the day, getting people to speak the same language. We all want buy-sell, contract. But at the end of the day, an African might want to have you say, we care about Africa. You might not want to say, I care about Africa. You just want to sell your solar panel. But if the difference between you creating 20 jobs and selling cellular towers that are powered by renewable energy instead of polluting the environment with diesel like SSI does, if that means you're going to create jobs, then maybe you need to pay lip service to what's important to someone else. And so I would just offer to my African colleagues in the room, being the recipient of U.S. exports, when yes, you can get cheap, inferior products from China, the repercussion of buying U.S. means you start to show U.S. companies that there's an environment for them to come do business. So rather than just making the easy choice of it's here, it's easy, it's cheap, consider the highest quality products in the world are still American. The most productive workers in the world are still Americans. So if you want to attract investment, the best way to do that is to buy something American.
Let me even throw in something on top of what you said too, which is also hopefully part of what we're doing. And that is you also have to get people to think about life cycle costs.
That's right.
People think today about China. People forget that 20 years ago, what China's doing today, Japan was doing. Okay, they were bringing in stuff at lower costs, okay, all over the world, and they were displacing American goods. But then people forgot, what about my warranty? What about my technical support? What happens when this generator breaks down 5 years from now and it has to be rebuilt? Okay, maybe I got a 50% discount when I first bought it, but now my life cycle cost is 3, 4, 5 times higher. African countries are being, to be perfectly blunt about it, being suckered because they're not thinking of life cycle costs. They're thinking that I'm going to buy this thing for 100 mil and the Americans and the Germans are going to send it to me for 200. What they're not thinking is it's going to cost me $500 million to operate it for 10 years, and the American one will cost me $250 million to operate it over 10 years. So there is a job to be done, okay? You know, to a degree, we are dealing with people who are throwing their bankroll around, okay? And at some point, you may just not want to get in the way of that, and you may need to let people make certain mistakes and then get upset about it and then get rid of that stuff down the line. But again, you are seeing a lot of that money go again towards things that are resource intensive and that are extraction related. Where you do not see this competition so much again are the things that you're going to build that are going to stay there. I go back to building things like banks and microfinance companies that generate value for decades. Okay, these are not life cycle, pull it out of the ground and when it's gone, it's done. So, you know, I think American firms would be wise to target areas where they're going to do things that are to create lasting value for the people there as well as generating IRR. And in those areas where they see this kind of intense foreign competition, this is where we potentially and other people like us have a job to do to educate the buyers that no, it's not just about that check that you write the day you get it, it's about all the checks that you're going to be writing over the time that you use whatever that equipment is or whatever it is, and no, you're not getting the deal you think you're getting. So I just thought I'd throw in that little thing on top.